guys. Let me know how this sounds because how I usually stream this. Still getting stuff set up here a little bit. Gotta get the secondary stream set up. I am currently at an after party. It's loud. Well, let's see. Be able to see you guys chatting. I still have to get my scene set up on my laptop. So right now we just have there's no intro, there's nothing good. It's just straight to the stream. I sound terrible. Okay. I mean, I'm in a very very crowded place. Audio is bad. Okay, well, hold on a second. All right, how about now? This thing keeps drooping away from me. Okay, maybe that's a little bit better. Again, we're on a lavalier mic, so, there's only so much we could do in an incredibly crowded, busy location. There's only so much I can do. What do you want? It's a bunch of nerds. They're going to just sit here and just smash drinks and get hammered, apparently. Which is what everybody's here for. Well, okay, here, just so that we're clear. Okay, this is the laptop. So this is if I don't use it. This is what it sounds like without my video. This is what the default audio that you would get from somebody. So, and then this is back on my left. So, I don't know if that's any better. Hopefully it is. Mm-hmm. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, what about now? Is this better? How about now? Is this better? Let me know. No, it's the same. Okay, never mind. Well, there you go. That's the difference between a lavalier mic and a good enough to hear the tea. I mean, I could be like one of those YouTubers that just goes like, "Hey, everybody, how's it going?" Every part of this, Casey, is what makes me think that I'm not good enough for this. I mean, again, I could just hold this up to my. That is better. Now I got to hold this up my whole time. It turns out when you put a microphone just into your. Hey, Edward, what's up? Thank you. Again.
Edward tipped $10 because you were missed.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a very. Hold on a second. Edward, I will get your tip in a second here. Configure video, camera control, pane. Nope, that's the wrong way. Hello. So this is the location that I'm in. As you can see, there's just people everywhere, unaware that they're currently on stream, I suppose. But, it is what it is. Oh, there, I went too far. Hello, I'm back. Anyways. All right, so. Sorry, I can't just hold on to this the whole time. So it's going to have to be, unfortunately, it's going to have to be on my lapel, and you guys are going to have to deal with it. No difference. Okay, I did get a tip from Edward. And maybe I can change that. Okay. I just increased the bit rate too. So hopefully that will help. Okay. Edward says, thank you because you were missed. Thank you, Edward. Sorry, it took me a minute to get that up. Just because, we're working on a bunch of different stuff here. So I appreciate you. Yeah, it probably is the mic trying to block out background noise. I don't know if I can change that or turn that off. See if I can change that. The mic itself doesn't have any... oh, it did have... oh, never mind. Okay. This should probably be a lot better. For some odd reason, Discord had noise suppression on. So, never mind. It should be better now. Hopefully. Ron says I sound horrible. Yeah, Ron, well, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more background noise because I turned off the noise suppression. The noise suppression was trying to fight all of this crowd noise, and that's why it was, working overtime. Again, I'm in an extremely crowded room, so you have to, you know what? It's part of the vibe, guys. It's loud here too, It's very loud here. I'll tell you what, we'll go live tomorrow and I will try to find a shady spot that I can set up and do stuff in. By the way, guys, if you like a high quality Magic the Gathering limited experience, you should go follow Ron Rittner over on Twitch. That's my name. You know what? A lot of people are very happy here, Edward. This is 100% true. I did see Evan was here. What's up, Evan? So, fun story. By the way, also, congrats, by the way, to Evan over at Nimble. I think they're, I don't know, probably near $750,000, so that's hot fire. But I was hanging out today, this morning, and I get approached by Nico DeGobis from Need Games. He's like, hey, Derek. And I was like, oh, hey, what's going on, Nico? And he said, oh, good stuff. He goes, hey, I was just talking to Evan from Nimble, and he said, he said, oh, yeah, Derek from Knights of Last Call mentioned you, and he's like, he loves Fabula Ultima and all this other stuff. And it was kind of a fun little crossing of streams there. Yeah, we're in Louisville, for sure. 662. All right. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's going to be super loud because, it's a very loud environment. I can't do anything about that. On the other hand, let's see here. All My Dice says, just got told by 3 different publishers that I should make my idea 5e or just give up. Well, that's brutal. It's funny that you say that because right here in chat we've got Evan, whose game is definitely not 5e, and that's very interesting how it can happen. The tip sound was loud as fuck. Yeah. Look, there's some settings here, okay, that we're still trying to dial in. I said, there's actually a pronunciation guide over in the convention center. They've got 5 acceptable ways to pronounce Louisville. So, somebody managed to bump into this entire table. That's pretty cool. And we have more people coming over here. So, what's up, JP? Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Again, I apologize if the audio is a little wonky. Again, like I said, we are over in. We are currently at GAMA, and we've got an entire crowd full of people here after hours enjoying the gaming. So definitely not my usual streaming supplement. You know, it really makes you appreciate the $500 microphone that I have and all of the noise cancellation that I have as well. But anyways, yeah, so today was really interesting because I went to a bunch of seminars on, you know, stuff for RPGs that I would, you know, never actually do or you know, care about. Like, I went to a licensing seminar with Mark Diaz-Truman and Thomas Harenstrom from Free League and from Magpie. And, you know, they were talking about stuff like the amount of insurance that they are required to carry in order to be able to handle these licenses. You know, they're talking around, you know, all that sort of stuff. I need a Bob the World Builder walk-around mic. Well, to be clear, Bob the World Builder uses one of these microphones. He just holds it up to his hand or to his mouth, and that makes it a little better. Also, he's in the middle of the quiet-ass woods. I'm in the middle of an extremely crowded group, so trust me, this would sound a lot better if I wasn't in a crowded room. Do it this way? All right, fair enough. Whatever. You know what? You guys suck. Do I have anything that I can like stick this onto the end to? I don't think so. Anyways, I guess I'll hold it up since you guys are saying it sounds like shit otherwise. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, JP. I mean, so Sunday, we got here late Sunday, but Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday is all these educational seminars about everything. I mean, it's aimed at both retailers and publishers, which, you know, is, you know, some of it's like how to build a good, you know, player base for your miniature game at your game store. So obviously some of that stuff doesn't really matter or isn't really interesting to anybody. But if we take a look at my my GAMA app. Hey man, what's up?
Oh, my style.
Yeah. We're joined here by a fellow patron member. Hold on a sec here.
You walk up and around.
Yeah, you can walk up around. Yeah. All mice, who's, look at this. This is live stream in effect. This is straight onto the live stream. What's up, buddy?
Not much. I didn't know you were in that IP one. I was in the same room. I was the guy that asked about the Japanese thing.
Oh, okay.
Because I had the two Japanese playtesters who were like, I don't know how to explain a Wes Marches game to my friends.
Yeah.
So they won't join.
Sure. You know, it's interesting. So one of our followers, one of our supporters, is a guy who works for libraries, and he was actually explaining about, because he's been trying to do our Knights of Last Call mega games as a library thing. You know, kind of run it like a West Marches, but a little bit different, not just like a West March, but more like our mega game concept. And he was talking to Mark Diaz-Truman about it, and he didn't understand it. He's like, okay, we're not using the right vocabulary here. We got to establish the right terms and all this other stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because one of the publishers said...
Oh, they want me to turn the camera toward me.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
One of the publishers basically said, you can't... Can you hold it up here? Sorry. One of the publishers said, you know, if this isn't 5e, you need to tell me why it shouldn't be, because that's how you're going to make money. Yeah. And then I heard basically that same thing from 3 different people. And then I was like, all right, well, don't use West Marches, because they're like, don't use a term you have to explain. All right, so I call it community driven, and they're like, we don't know what the game is if you call it the community driven. And I'm like, well, man, I mean, I'm new at this, so I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But you're not giving me some advice that I could use.
So, why, in terms of talking to a publisher, why not just do it yourself?
I am.
Okay.
So, like, I'm going to be trying to kickstart it in probably in May if I can get the job done.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I'd like to know what they're looking for, right? What people think is going to be an issue. There was a self-fulfillment seminar today that I went to.
Oh yeah. The how to keep more profit for yourself or something.
Right, and I was like, I want to know this. Is this going to be a good thing? You know, basically found out that it's going to be a good idea for me to do the self-fulfillment for the one that I'm doing in May.
Yeah.
And then potentially do something with a fulfillment center later on down the line.
Well, you know, it's interesting. So we went to the Stephen Glicker went to the ICV2, which is the people who do the data collection on like what RPGs are thriving, and they said during that seminar that, you know, for the last several years it's always been the same thing: D&D, big gap; Pathfinder, big gap; everything else. And they said this was the first year that they got. This is the first year they had legitimately different information, and it was like D&D, and then you started getting into like Cosmere was number 2, number 3 was Starfinder 2. You had Daggerheart, you had Shadow Dark. So like even though D&D was still number 1, the fact is that the other games are making these sort of inroads, you know, into the thing. Morkborg was in the top 10. You know, games that you would never have seen before. So that's really what's interesting. You know, I think that's just really,
It is good to hear that is.
Speaking of Stephen Glicker, he's here now too.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because we're making inroads for all these things that we can potentially do, but then every publisher says, if you want to get a publisher, if you want to make money, take whatever idea you have, repackage, rebox it, say it's a 5e supplement, even if you deviate completely from 5e. Say it's a 5e supplement, so a publisher will pick you up.
Yeah.
Which is wild to me because that same publisher then turns and says, hey, talk to one of these guys that I'm doing their game, and their game isn't a 5e supplement. And so I'm like, your advice is repackage as 5e or it won't sell. Oh, also, here's a guy who we're marketing for who is doing a game that's a roguelike TTRPG.
Right.
That is.
Well, maybe the idea is that they have, or maybe they're a more established publisher or producer.
Again, that's the thing. Yeah, it'll be.
I mean,
some
the
elements.
sad truth is, we joke about this on this channel for a reason. Is, you know, I mean, we gave Evan some crap about that from Nimble, right? When we first looked at his game and he had that 5e compatible sticker stuck right on it, and we opened up the game. And it's got 4 stats instead of 6. You know, it doesn't have an attack roll. There's no armor class. And we're like, this is 5e compatible? And, you know, we had him on the show, and he talked about what 5e compatible meant to him. But I think more than anything, it's a foot in the door, man.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, one of the only positive things that I got from all of the talking to people, talking to shows and stuff, or talking to the different educational seminars was, hey, do your own thing, make something polished, get your foot in the door, do something small and then deliver on it, and then you can then take that to a publisher to do the thing you really want to do.
Sure.
And then still the advice is make a 5e supplement to get your foot in the door that proves that you can do it. It's almost like the advice from the industry is your interview is what 5e supplement are you known for?
I mean, for better or for worse, I mean, that's what Kelsey did.
Yeah.
Kelsey before she made Shadow Dark, she was making 5e supplements and 5e stuff on drive-thru and
She was a big writer. She wrote for Watson too.
Yeah. So
Adventures.
You know, but that's going to get you the most eyes. That's going to get you the most people.
And
by the way, you know, to the point of this stream, this is why Derek is very bad at business because, you know, I don't give a shit about that, and I want to make the game I want to make. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same thing where they were asking me like, oh, what sort of stuff do you want to do? And then, you know, they asked me, how do you make your business model work? And I was like, honestly, one of the things that I want to do is find this guy that runs this TTRPG server that I'm a big fan of and be like, how does his business model work? Because all I want to to do is have a Patreon to slowly drip feed people cool mega game nonsense.
Who could that be?
You know what? It doesn't work. That's the secret.
And here's the thing: I don't need it. I don't need it to make me wealthy beyond my wildest
Right.
dreams. I need it to break even, because at the end of the day, this is my cool little thing that I do to keep me sane while I'm being dad. My wife makes all the money.
Sure.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm here to support her.
Yeah.
And if I could find a way to break even on my cool game that I can, send off into the world and have people have fun, playing and dying as mice, then
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I think that's a really cool idea. Obviously, because that's something that I do all the time.
Oh.
But yeah, cool.
I was going to show you. I showed you on the Discord.
Oh
but
yes. Oh,
There's
hold on
the
a sec, hold
card.
on.
Do the business thing. You're supposed to be getting better at business, Derek. Here is our exchange of cards.
Oh.
We're doing the business. Are we doing the business right, chat?
Yeah. Are we businessing everybody? Well, so that was one of the jokes we were talking about for April Fool's Day. I'm going to do a Kickstarter. It's going to be a 5-page RPG. It's going to be called The Fruitful Void, and it's going to have no rules in it, and it's going to say on it 5e compatible.
It'll probably sound like hotcakes. Like,
What, 5e compatible? It's going to say
OSR compatible?
OSR compatible.
Yeah.
Compatible with Shadow Dark. Powered by Pathfinder. It'll have every single sticker that you could put on the outside of it.
And then your face. Right in the middle.
Zipperfist says that would sell out for
That
sure.
would sell out. Oh, it would do great. That's what I'm doing this April Fool's.
Oh. They want to see the code. Yeah. So here we have. There we go. It's obviously reversed because my camera's
Yes,
reversed.
cards.
Come
hey,
on.
I can't say anything. I'm also happy I have
There we
cards.
go.
I like
It's
my
reversed.
cards.
Sorry about that. Derek Melinda, TTRPG Education and Entertainment, and then on
Here's
the back,
mine. I'm supposed to give these out to people.
follow us. Join us on YouTube, and it's got a QR code that you can use to come to our YouTube channel. So nothing super fancy, but
All mice dice.
all mice die. Must die.
All mice die.
All mice die.
It was
Dice.
Dice Mice, and then the trademark lawyer said you can't use that,
Dice
and so I
Mice,
had
I
to
like
change the
Dice
name.
Mice.
I love Dice Mice, but then the trademark lawyer says you can't trademark that because somebody else has a trademark on Mice Dice, and they won't let you do something that's that close. So
Helmet says, "I'm proud of you. Almost the same as my design." Yeah, but mine is Mine is what we call at Night's Last Call.
Actually, that's a better idea. You should call it the world's greatest role-playing game.
No, because the whole point is, like everything that we do here, it's a serious troll. It's a direct attempt to mock stupid things.
listen, you can call it The Fruitful Void if you want, but that should be a subtitle. The actual thing, just in all block letters, should be FBT. There's no way you can have it be anything else because you can put whatever fluff you want.
No, I think somebody rephrased that one time, I think, as fruitful bullshit time.
See, there you go.
No, but we could call it Fruitful Void, the world's greatest RPG.
And then when everyone says compatible with the world's greatest RPG, the answer is damn right.
Yeah. Now that's a great idea. From John Susserberger, he says the title could just be 5e
Oh,
compatible.
did you hear? They have officially said it is officially now. They officially are calling it 5.5. WotC announced that today.
You're calling 2024 5.5?
It's official.
Which means there's going to be a 6th.
No. They said it was a version update. It doesn't. They literally said it doesn't change anything. It's still D&D. It's just an updated version. They went through great pains to explain all this.
After 2 years.
Of course, the same things they said all along. I mean, when I was doing stuff with WotC for the next playtest, in the early playtest document of Next, it said, what is the goal of Next is to be a unifying experience for D&D so that you can sit down at a table and have someone bring a 4e character, a 3e character, and a 1e character and all play at the same table. And I looked at that and I was like, you're actually going to say this to people, like, out loud at Gen Con? And then hearing it, I was just like, I don't know what world you live in, but
I mean, that was the idea, though. It was to be a modular game, and you could opt into complexity at different class points and everything like that. No, G Helmet. When they had this supposed news about them making a new version of D&D, I was on Roll for Combat, and I said, "Oh, you know what they should do? They should make a D&D classic."
Right.
And compete with the OSR and kind of go get all the grognards and be like, hey, we're going to bring back, dungeons and torches and we're basically going to take our game and say it's all D&D, but this D&D is for rainbows and, beholders getting makeovers, and this version of D&D is for, dying in a trap.
I mean, it's the same thing of shouldn't call it D&D 4th edition, it should be D&D Tactics.
Right, D&D Tactics.
Right.
And even though I think Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition was Dungeons & Dragons.
You're preaching to the choir here.
Yes, of course. It had skills and feats and combat abilities, and all the rules were for combat. Read a D&D book, you'll discover that most of the rules are for combat. But there were pages and pages of powers. Pick up your player's handbook, tell me how many pages and pages of spells there are. It's literally the same. But anyway, yes, D&D Tactics.
Yeah.
Really focusing on the miniature, combat parts of it. So.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because the industry advice says you don't want to do that because you're splitting your audience, right? You don't want to split your audience.
Well, but you could say it's all D&D. It's just different flavors of D&D. It's like WoW Classic.
Exactly.
WoW
What I was
Retail.
going to say is when you find out, oh wait, no, these are the people that are doing it, where it's not splitting the audience because it's an umbrella and you can support things equally. But then you're not going to be able to convince the people in the suits that say, no, we only want to pay to support one edition. I mean, we don't want to pay to support.
That's why it's not another edition, right? It's a side-along thing.
Yeah, you got to pitch it to the suits.
DL Hart,
Does D&D Classic have THAC0?
No, it would not have THAC0.
Well, then it's not compatible. It's not compatible with all versions.
Yeah, but that's like how every single OSR game comes out, has ascending armor class and doesn't use THAC0. But they always say, you can play this with any of your classic adventures.
I mean, they don't use 2d6 to attack either, and the d20 to attack was originally an optional rule, so
I like that.
You know what I like better than THAC0? I like combat matrix tables that the players don't see. You don't actually even know what your attack roll is.
Good.
That was the way it originally worked.
I know. It was brutal.
Yeah.
See, I have to do a business and say what I want is the opposite. I want here's the DC to the players, and then all the players have to roll, and I just have to say dance, monkey, dance.
Well,
I don't want to roll any dice. Just do the thing. Get out of the way.
Well, see, Edward, you said they tried to introduce skill challenges, but I think that's exactly the point. They were trying to create a mechanical framework to handle more than just combat. In fact, that's the funny thing about D&D 4th edition. It is the version of D&D that has done the most to support non-combat things.
I mean, for anyone who's not read this, right? If you're in here, you probably know what 4th edition is and what's good about it. But if there's any holdouts here, if you hate it and you don't want to do it ever again, or you don't want to look at it at all, look up the DMG2. Dungeon Master's Guide 2 for 4th edition, and go through and see how they explain the skill challenge stuff, and then go read the Daggerheart fording a river thing, because they use the same example, the same setup, and it's like, this is what they were trying to do in that system, in that game.
You got bored in the room? You got bored in the room?
I finished my work.
Oh.
And then I watched you, and I was like, oh my god, this is terrible. I gotta join you. Actually, I'm gonna go back. I'm pretty tired.
All right.
But
well, thank you for stopping by, Mr. Cookie.
yes.
I'll see you later.
I'll see you a little later.
And thank you for stopping by.
Yeah. I'll leave you be. I'll give you your mic back.
Oh, thank
nice
you.
meeting you.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing.
I'll be see you around. I'm going to be here for the next till Thursday, so we'll see.
Gotcha.
You.
Yeah,
Right,
I got to go and take a kid to the doctor's tomorrow morning.
Oh,
So,
all right. Are you coming back here at all?
huh?
Are you going to be back here?
I mean, I live here.
Oh,
so
you live.
I live in town.
Oh, you live
So-
in town. Okay. I didn't know if you traveled with your kids.
No, yeah. It was being like, oh, you're gonna be in my backyard.
Oh, okay.
I gotta at least say hi.
All right.
and
Well, I'm glad you stopped by.
I mean, I saw the stream, and I was like, oh, cool. He's in the same building.
I don't know if
as
you
me.
meant.
All right,
I didn't
now
know if
I
you knew you were going to end up on the live stream, but you know, hey. Well,
Yeah. All right. Later.
Thanks, Tim. All right. So, yeah. Classic Knights of the Last Call. shenanigans here. But yeah, I mean, everything that we're just talking about there is it's so interesting to me because I just don't think about any of these things as being part of what role-playing games are and the economics of them. But it's for so many people here. It does, now, to be clear, this doesn't mean that they're not passionate about the games. They're not passionate about game design. They are. These people are most of these people care a ton. And there's people geeking out as much, like Archon Studio, who's making the new StarCraft miniatures game. Their booth is right down, like 2 booths down from us at Wolf of Combat. And I was over there today, and I was telling them, like, oh my god, this game looks amazing. And they're like, oh, you've been following? Oh, I've been following. I've been reading all the rules. And they were just so excited. They're like, these guys are like, we're miniature gamers. We've been playing 40K since I was an infant. And they're like, we think this is legitimately the best game ever. And it's interesting how, these games come out and they're the best games ever. And yet, D&D is not going to go anywhere. 40K isn't going to go anywhere. And there's something to be said about having that momentum and having that, power of just the weight of people continuing to play a game. But I do want to try to go live, at least for a little bit, every night that I'm here. Because obviously I did not stream really much last week. I did a Final Fantasy stream. But other than that, I didn't really do a whole lot. So it's definitely, important and cool to have you guys in here. It's a little bit chaotic. It's a little bit hectic. I know it's not our normal, usual streams, but I appreciate you guys stopping in and saying hi anyways. But it is cool to be surrounded by just all these cool people. And we went to the open play area, and there was people running demos of Daggerheart and DCC, and Tunnels and Trolls is going to come out with a new game, which is wild. But then the board game. Oh my God, there were so many cool board games. We played this fun, it's a roll and write called Forage, which was really fun. I saw this really cool Viking sea travel game called Blood in the Water or something. I took some pictures. It looked really cool. I mean, there's just so many amazing games out there. And how many of them do you actually hear about? And that doesn't mean that they're not good games. It's just they weren't Wingspan. So, they never got picked up by Target. They didn't sell 25,000 million copies or anything. Pumpkin needs some more deets on these board games. I mean, there's so many. They were really cool. The Forage game was a roll and write. You roll these symbols on these dice, and then you add them with you have a bunch of cards. Instead of a pad of paper, you have cards that are dry erasable, and you kind of collect the symbols from the dice. But the dice that are rolled is a communal pool. Everybody can use them. It's not exclusive, distinct. You're not the only person who can claim those dice. But you kind of decide where in your tableau you're going to put those symbols. You can add them to your pantry. You can build them into a recipe to give as a gift, or you can use the symbols to go exploring the woods, and then you start connecting paths on these little cards that you accumulate. Very cool. That was a fun game. The Blood in the Water game, I looked at it. I don't think it did exactly what I thought it was going to do, but I have been obsessed with the idea of trying to use the framework of the Battlestar Galactica co-op hidden trader game from 20 years ago by Corey Konezko in Final Fantasy Flight Games, and use it to create a sailing game of some sort. And it didn't exactly do it, but it did look pretty cool. And it's kind of a co-op Viking sailing game, and you've got a ship, and you have to move around the ship and take care of problems like sea monsters attacking and sailing your ship and doing a bunch of other stuff, which I thought was really, really cool. But especially because, like I said, I kind of alluded to this a little bit, but nothing official. But since we're at GAMA. There have been, and this isn't going to mean a bunch. This is going to be much to everything, to everybody, because some of you don't really know Knights of Last Call with Mr. Aaron Smith, who was, obviously a huge part of our channel. He actually wasn't there in the beginning. I mean, he's been my best friend for 30 years, but recently, Mr. Smith has found himself with some extra time. He is transitioning from his employment, and basically is going to have a lot of time available to him. AKA, he's not working. And I had lunch with him, coffee with him the other day, and I was telling him about some of the ideas that I've had for a while for a game to be made, and it's part of my 2026 objective, which is I got to get busy living or get busy dying, and I can't just fart around forever. Obviously, I stream a lot, which is a lot of fun with you guys, and you guys are awesome, and tipping and patrons, and that pays the bills, and like what Permanent DM was saying. Unfortunately, unlike All My Dice, I don't have a sugar mama. I'm not a kept man, which would be awesome. I remember in college, I used to brag with I had a lot of friends that were girls in college because they were all studying to become doctors, and I was a chem major, and they were all chem majors, anyways. And I used to joke about how I was like, I just want to grow up and marry one of you and just be your stay-at-home dad. So, any case, I told Smith about some of my ideas, and he basically said, I don't know when I will get an opportunity to ever do something like this again, because obviously he only has so long before he, has to shit or get off the pot. And so, realistically, I think Smith and I are going to, try to put our heads together and create something. And strike a balance, right? Because the reality of the situation is, I need income, and he's got 3 kids, so it can't just be our pure passion project. But I also don't want it to just be a cop out. Not that there's anything wrong with 5e, but everybody here who knows this channel knows that that's not the soul of my passion. So how do we strike that balance, right, between something reasonable and potentially marketable and something crazy, like Derek going off the deep end about Wilder Feast and being like, oh, I want to create a mega Wilder Feast mega game that we can release to everybody, the 5 people that could buy it. So it's got to be a balance, right, between something that we think is cool and something that can actually do well. Like, and to be clear here, I'm not talking about something insane like $250,000. If we could put something together and we could get 1,000 backers, that would be insane, right? So, and also too, there's something about speed to market and everything like that. Well, Pumpkin, so Pumpkin says anyone can add pragmatism to your ideas. It's Smith. Let me be very clear about something. I don't think Smith is very pragmatic either. Bob is the pragmatic one. Now, I don't know how much Bob is going to be involved with this officially. I mean, I'm sure he'll be involved, but Smith, though, if I'm a crane, I like to think Smith is a lion. Shout out super obscure middle of the night Legend of the Five Rings designer stream, because Smith believes in the truth of his ideas, and he will not stop until that idea is manifest in the game. And if that means writing an 85-page document, he will write an 85-page document. The grave is no bar to his call. He will work. Smith's a worker. I'm not saying I'm a lazy piece of shit, but I'm kind of saying in some ways I'm a lazy piece of shit. Like, I'm so obsessed with the purity of the idea that the execution of it falls short. That's not Smith. Smith sits down, he gets to work. Now, that doesn't mean that Smith is just like, oh, I'm going to throw some duct tape on it. It's good enough. Get her done. And it's good. No. Smith is one of those rare people that's like, hey, it's both good and, it's robust and it's good. But the cost for that can sometimes be, complexity, verbosity, maybe some assumptions of design. He just, puts like, oh, I just assume players know how that works. And that's not always the case. So, again, I think he definitely has an incredible skill set. Not to mention that he and I both think very similarly about RPGs, but also think differently about RPGs. And he also has a lot of video game experience, a lot of MMO experience that I don't have. So all of those things I think are really, really valuable. So, with that being said, oh, thank you, Evan. So again, the other thing too, Evan, believe it or not, your Kickstarter has really made a lot of impact on people here. I talked to some people. I didn't say anything like, oh, I had them on my show or anything like that. But a lot of people, people were talking about pumpkin spice. People were talking about Nimble, and a lot of people love the design, the layout of your Kickstarter page. But I think one of the things that really stood out was this idea that Evan came out and he created his house rules, and people said, we love these house rules. We want to see you do your own thing. Like, yeah, it's cool that you made these house rules, but what if you weren't shackled as much to the 5e structure? So Evan went and did that, and he earned people's trust. So when he came back for, this second backer kit, this feels a little bit more like Evan Unleashed, right? I think the ideas are a little bit bolder. They're a little bit more, they're a little bit more distinctly nimble, less 5e. And of course, obviously, the reprint of the core game. And I think you earned that right to do that because you proved everybody, hey, I can deliver a game. It can be a great experience. And look at all these great people who said, wow, this is a great experience. And now people feel, okay, I feel comfortable doing it. So if that really, I think, made an impact on me, just because I think there's something to be said about, I don't want to just do something just to get my foot in the door, but I also understand that you have to earn people's trust. And obviously, I think for a lot of audience members here who've watched me for 5 years, hopefully, you know what my mindset is and what I think about games, but I don't know that everybody else does. And so, what can I do to sort of earn people's trust, right? Earn people's respect who don't know me. And so that's kind of where my mindset is. It's not really in the mindset of just do something so, because I heard a lot of people, you were well-meaning, and I don't mean to poo-poo on you, but I heard a lot of people say something like, just make your first game, it'll be terrible, don't worry about it. I do, actually, because number one, I don't want to make a terrible game. And number two, I think that first, first impression means a lot. And while I don't, and I know a lot of people think I take too long to try to make things perfect, but, to quote Princess Irulan, right, the beginning is a very delicate time. And I think you only get one chance to make a first impression. There's a lot of RPGs out there competing for people's time and attention. And I do think there's a certain element of, you need to get it mostly right on your first get-go. So you have to show to people that you can make a game that delivers, and then they can trust you. And I think that's really important, for sure. Did one of the gaggle of ideas resonate with Smith? Yeah, so we talked about a lot of the things. We talked about some of the logistics. We talked about some of the things that reduced our likelihood of getting sued, aka not the brick game. We talked about things that we thought would be easier to develop. We thought about things that could take advantage of the current zeitgeist. We talked about the realities of the situation, which is, more than likely, I would be very foolish not to, but, more than likely, I would probably be working with Steven and Roll for Combat to help me publish. Professor Dungeon Master is doing that for Deathbringer. And, yeah, I could probably make more money if I just did it myself. But I also know that that's not necessarily a skill set that I'm, want to be. And he's been doing a lot of stuff with Shadow Dark, so we are leaning, I think, towards the Pirates of Shadowtide idea, because we think that there's some cool ideas there to explore, and we also like the tonal idea of creating not another grim dark OSR game, but a grim bright OSR game, right? And using Shadow Dark for a more, sure, it's a dark world, but your heroes, right? And trying to do pirates a little differently. A lot of the pirates games really focus on the, you're a murdering rapist pirate. I don't know that that's exactly what it is. But if you think about like Pirates of the Caribbean, the movies, Jack Sparrow is a kind of a ne'er-do-well pirate, but he's kind of reformed, but he's also kind of a pirate, whatever. But like Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann, like these characters are heroic, right? They're swashbuckler, and ultimately they're trying to do good heroic things, and when push comes to shove, Jack has his own self-interest, and he's arguably the most gray or neutral character about it. So that's the one thing that I want to do. And then the other thing that I want to do with the game is change up some of the modeling around how people approach and think about OSR games, and that's to make it more directional rather than I think right, wrong, or indifferent. I think a lot of people end up using these rules-light games, and they run them, and they're like, "Oh, I love Shadow Dark," and then you talk to them, and they go, "Yeah, we have run 37 one-shots." I just feel like people aren't running campaigns of these things, or they are running endless, pointless campaigns. So I want to do something differently about that, but without making it an adventure path, right? I want to make it. I want the game itself to have a winning condition, and I want the players to be engaged towards that end. Yes, I liked the people talk about Pirates of the Caribbean. I liked the first movie, and each successive movie, I guess I only saw 3 of them, but each successive movie I liked less and less, because I feel like they did become more piratey, less heroic-y. So yes, so Smith's Dark of Winter campaign was directly based off of Band of Blades, which is a dark fantasy medieval war campaign for Forged in the Dark. And basically, as you play through the campaign, you accumulate victory points, and at the end of the campaign, you tally up your victory points, and you basically see whether you won or not. No. So that's the thing. We're not making it. At least it's my goal. It's not about treasure with a lowercase t. It's going to be about treasure with an uppercase T. It's going to be a grim, bright, heroic pirate game. So it's going to focus more on MacGuffins, and it's going to be focused more on trying to save the world. At least that's how I see it. Could that change? Maybe. Right. Find the treasure leader. Save the treasure leader. Save the world. Right. That'll be our tagline. Yes. So the other inspiration is One Piece. Now I don't watch One Piece because I think anime is silly. But you know, the touchstones I would say primarily are the Pirates of Darkwater, Pirates of the Caribbean, and One Piece. If I had to, put it together. Today I learned Grimbright. I still don't know what that means though. Well, I don't have my whiteboard up. But if I did, the idea is that you have, it's like, you know how you have your, hold on. Apparently I don't have internet connection, so there we go. Okay. So we have a mouse. We don't have a stylus, so this is not going to be as sexy as we normally make it. Okay. So you know how you have your alignment grids, right? Where you have your lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful neutral, chaotic neutral, whatever like that. Well, you can do the same thing with this idea of Grimbright. And Noble Bright and all those stuff. So you have Noble, and you have Grim, and then you have Bright, and you have Dark. And then obviously there's, the neutral versions of that. So over here in this corner, you have so over here in this corner you have Grimdark. Okay, and so the idea of Grimdark is you have a grim world, right? It's not a nice place. There's darkness, there's evil. Evil is spreading. And the tone of the game is dark, Characters are frail, human. They fail, they falter, they get hurt, they get diseased. Your character is just as likely to get rich as they are to die in a sewer. And so the idea of Grimdark is this idea of this kind of very, down and dirty, grim kind of game. So opposite of that, you have Noble Bright. So in Noble Bright, in some ways, a lot of Forgotten Realms, a lot of D&D, a lot of Pathfinder 2 is Noble Bright, which is, the world's kind of great. Like, if you look at Galarian in Pathfinder 2, or if you look at the Forgotten Realms, if you're, like, in Waterdeep or the Sword Coast, look at, like, the Sword Coast and Forgotten Realms. You have Baldur's Gate, then you have, like, Waterdeep, Neverwinter, Luskan, like, you have all of these, like, incredibly, relatively safe, not, like, super tyrannical, fascist, city-states. There's magic is used to make the world nice, and then the heroes are pretty good, and you're great and grand, and you win, and you kick people's ass a lot, So that's Noble Bright. It's like the opposite of Grimdark. So what we are suggesting, and so a lot of OSR games fall into this Grimdark category. So what we are suggesting is a Grim Bright game. So in a Grim Bright game, you are right here. The world is, again, a dark place, a dangerous place, a scary place. But the characters are morally pure, right? The characters, the PCs are heroes. And, we're not here to see our heroes fall, in that way. Oh, maybe I do have Noble Dark messed up. Maybe I got it wrong. Okay. whatever. The PCs can make the world better. That's the most important part. Apparently, I may have just reversed those, according to Pumpkin, so I'll believe him. I mean, they're all made up terms, but yeah. Maybe it's noble dark. The characters are noble, but the world is dark. That actually makes a lot more sense. So, yes, okay. The characters are noble, but the world is dark, right? Whereas in Grimdark, the characters are grim. They're like fatalistic, they're cynical, they're sadistic, you know, they're just like, another day, another dead body in the gutter, whatever. If the copper's stained red with blood, it doesn't matter. It'll buy me a pint of ale and a wench for the night, just the same. Right, you know, that's the classic grimdark aesthetic. And so I want to do something different with it. I guess Noble Dark would be the actual appropriate term. I was saying Grim Bright, but it should be Noble Dark. The heroes are noble, but the world is dark. So the world is kind of shitty, but the character is noble. Yeah. So that's what I want to do. I want to take some of the OSR concepts, and I want to try to put them into a different tonal space. And I want to use the mechanics to do that. So Edward says, according to the definitions here, Noble Dark, grand, heroic struggles and difficult choices that have a huge impact in a morally complex world. So, right, yes, there you go. So, there we go. That's what we're going to do. But in any case, you know, I know that there's a certain amount of people that want to do that aesthetic for Grimdark, but it's been done to death, if I'm being quite, honest with you. You know, so I don't think we need to do it again. Yes, Grim Bright would be difficult to do. Grim characters in a bright and hopeful world, right? Well, I think Grim Bright is sort of the classic kind of anti-hero, now that I think about it, right? Like, where the world is great, but the heroes are jaded and cynical and kind of assholes, right? I think we can think of some of that. I mean, in some ways, like Deadpool, you might consider kind of to be Grimbright, right? So that's definitely kind of that style aesthetic. So there's that kind of I don't want to say comedic effect, but there is a little bit of like satire. Satire is not the right word. Sardonic. Yeah, sardonic is a great word for it. Yes, Image. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. 90s era comics, Image era. That's exactly it. 100%. That's for anybody who knows what that means. It's 100% that. Anyways, there we go. Deadpool's my favorite. Grim Bright sounds awesome now, right? So Grim Bright's a great example. Deadpool's making a joke while his head's ripped off. He doesn't take anything seriously, even if it's important. Other people are really trying to make the world a better place, and he's just interested in being a jerk. Right? Again, I don't like Grim Bright because it's annoying. So. I don't like Deadpool, so I mean that's really what it comes down to. Grim Bright is the coolest My Little Pony. Whimsy, to a certain extent, I think whimsy does lean itself towards a noble, bright game, right? Where the world, the characters are good. The world is a place of magic and wonder, and we're out there to just explore it and see it. And this is where I think D&D gets into this kind of tonal problem, because I think D&D presents itself in many ways, and I think the way a lot of people play it is in a noble, bright manner, and yet the game is still based off of D&D 1976, so it's got critical hits and death rules and dying rules and all this other stuff, and it's just like sometimes it just feels very tonally inconsistent, I think. Land of Eam, I think, is a great example of that. Now, to be clear, Land of Eam, there's a little bit of an undercurrent of Land of Eam, because I think maybe Land of Eam, you could even say, is, it's not, it's not dark and it's not bright, but it's neutral, like noble neutral, because there's this idea, right, of the used to be forest. There's been this, kind of taking over by the forces that be, the dungeon companies or whatever. It's fine. I will say I did, for what it's worth, I did enjoy the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. I thought that was actually enjoyable. And the second Deadpool movie, not so much. I don't really even remember the first one too well, but I did enjoy the X-Men, or Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought that was a good movie. Mostly because I thought Hugh Jackman was amazing in that movie, which I thought was really fun. And I liked the way that they kind of made fun of and shit on all the, multiverse, whatever, the TVA stuff and all that other stuff, which I thought was great. But yeah, there you go. I mean, yeah, you've got Liamon's tiny hut. This is a great example of this, right? You've got Liamon's tiny hut or Mordecai's magnificent mansion, so that you can, get cozy and have like a little unseen servant to serve you. But you could also, brutally murder people and destroy them, with spells that are horrific and terrifying. There's people are getting rowdy here, They're here to sell games and drink, and they're all out of games, Take care, Helmet. Peace out. Remember, I denied the request for a forum because Vin said forums are stupid and pointless. Anyways, I was just seeing if there's over here. Those spells are right next to disintegrate. That's a great example, John. Yeah, that's so great. Ooh, nice. Kadrisa got to play Nimble and Draw Steel. Fantastic. Vin has said for a long time that forums in Discord suck because they're too controlled and they're too structured and they're too rigid and they don't allow the free exposition and brainstorming of ideas, and he just thinks everything should just be a free chat channel. So we created a chat channel for people to discuss their game design ideas, and then he sent a request the other day that was like, in our public request forum, it was like, we really need a forum for this because it's getting kind of chaotic and crazy in there. And I was like, oh, okay, so things are a little bit different now. I see. Okay. Yeah, Dr. Dehart. I mean, I like most things. I think if you could throw down a tonal, it's easy to tell people what your game is about, right? And when you push to the extremes, you get, definition, and that, of course, definition and tonal consistency. But that also means that some people aren't going to like your games, unfortunately. So that is one thing. Now, that is one thing that I think we're going to try to do here, which is we're going to try to make a Noble Dark. We're going to try to make a Noble Dark pirate game. We're going to base it off of Shadow Dark to both take advantage of our relationships with people like, from the Arcane Library and Professor Dungeon Master, people who have been, getting into, created this stuff. Also to take advantage of the relationship that we have with Roll for Combat, who has, they're putting out a series of Shadow Dark Bestiaries. They're going to be doing Deathbringer, which is a Shadow Dark hack, for lack of a better word. I do think our game is going to be more like Deathbringer in that it's going to be a Shadow Dark hack, because I do think certain things are going to have to change in order to just sort of, one, reach that tonal consistency. Two, I would be lying to you if I said I would want character classes quite as simple as what Shadow Dark has. So it's still going to be Shadow Dark, and there's going to be a lot of elements about Shadow Dark that I think we're going to really embrace. But it's going to be uniquely our stuff, our ideas. So that's one thing. Second thing is, because we're basing it off of an existing game, which has a very, very generous license, it's just less work for us to do for our first outing, which I think is important. 3, Shadow Dark's really popular and it's selling really well. And, I love everyone here for, all the encouragement that you guys give me, whether it's through messages, through your patronage, through just nice comments, through the occasional tip or super chat. Those are all super, super appreciated. But the fact is for this to be successful, especially if I'm, doing it with my, bringing on a co-designer in Smith, it needs to, do okay. If I only make $40,000, and that's before fees and before art and before printing, cut up, divide by 2, that's not really going to change, the calculus for us. So if this goes well and it can deliver, and we think the process is worth it, well, then maybe we can do something else. Cineboss, I would imagine, if I'm being honest with you, I would imagine that once we had a early alpha idea, we would probably kick off a mega game and ask people to join it that are members of the Patreon. I have come to really respect, and I mean that in a legitimate way, the thoughts and most of the people that I deal with on the Patreon, I think are really good GMs and really have great ideas, and I think, I don't always agree with everybody, but I definitely respect them, and I think it'll be interesting. Basically, it's a playtest group that I trust, and this is important. This is so important to me. I think a lot of other content creators who go and create these, groups, they just get a lot of smoke blown up their ass by a bunch of sycophantic, parasocial hang-arounds. And I like to think and trust that my group of followers would not do that. They'd be like, this sucks, Derek. This sucks, and you should fix it. That is one of the reasons that I feel very comfortable doing that process, is because I know I'm not going to get unworthy praise in that respect. Yeah, exactly. No hope about the terrorists being gone yet, but we'll see that. Will you layer the grim so people can delve as deeply as they feel comfortable? Well, that's a great question, Patrick. I don't know. I think it would have to do with the nature and the scale and the tone of how you want to use the game. I mean, I would certainly, I'm not going to be able to stop anybody, and I think it would be very foolish of me to create a game and say, you can't use our game to do anything else other than with what you want to do with it. You might want our game just for the classes and just for the ship traveling rules or the ship rules, your own pirate ship rules. That's cool. That's fine. But I also don't want to try to make everybody happy. So there's kind of a, pro and con for that. Could be a glorious dumpster fire. Yeah, I think it'd be fun. The other advantage is, if I do something, especially, Derek's making a game. Realistically, I would probably get 100 people signing up to play that, and that's like an order of magnitude more playtesters than most small press indie publishing type games could ever possibly get. So we're going to be able to test pretty quickly and figure stuff out. That's true. We do get it. Cal says, correct, I already dislike the idea, but I'll still run your game at least once. And that's totally fine too. I also think it's important that I'm not trying to make a game for everybody. So, don't feel like I'm putting a gun at your head and forcing you to play it. Like if somebody's like, I fundamentally disagree with the premise of your game, and I was surprised to find that when I played it, I also disliked it. Well, yeah, okay, but if the premise of the game doesn't really make you happy, I think the one main thing that I want to get away from is this idea of OSR or Shadow Dark as just endless one-shots, endless one-shots. I want to get away from that. Derek, will there be room for any of the Wilderfeast mechanics in your new game? No. I don't think so. At least not right now. Now, that being said, having just said that, I do have 2 other main projects. And yes, in my heart of hearts, these are just as important as anything else. Number 1, of course, well, for starters, the GM Council is working hard to figure out and launch Season 4 of Northern Reaches. We just did a massive test the other day on forge stability, so that was a really big important step forward as we try to figure out what the plane's going to be there. So Pathfinder 2, alive and well. Number 2, Bob is working really, really hard with Goblins and Androids and Edril to get the official Dragon Tide Season 1 launched. And again, we learned some things from Season 1, but one of the most important ones is we're going to scale back some of the mechanics that I put into the game to make it a more authentic Dragonbane experience. I had some ideas. I think they worked. Other people disagreed. There were some implementation issues, which I will get to. Now, that being said, I still really, and I mean, you can mock it all you want, but I fervently believe that my ideas for Wilderfeast, Mega Game, Wild Reaches, whatever you want to call it, would be the best mega game of all time. And it's not because of the Wilderfeast game itself. It's because, and I think this is something that I think a lot of people have missed. It's something that I think a lot of people have missed with Northern Reaches, and it's something that I think a lot of people have missed with Dragon Tide, which is the whole point of the mega game is not to play a bunch of Pathfinder 2 or whatever, to play a bunch of Dragonbane. The point of the mega game is to have a community-based experience. In my mind, the mega games are really all about community building. It's about friendship building. It's about building shared experiences with people. And I think that sometimes players, GMs, the game designers, the council forget that. So while I do think Wilderfeast is a fine game, I think it's quite all right, the changes that I'm making to it and are enhancing what I think is already there, which is, I think, is really good at bringing that idea together of community and creating moments together. Yes, you're on point today here, Kadrisha. Mega game as a third place. Yes, exactly. And the way that I know this is because of how many people might spend 30 hours a week playing in the mega game, but they only spend 4 hours of that 30 or 6 hours of that 30 actually playing PF2 or Dragonbane. They spend the other 20 plus hours hanging out in chat, talking with other people, making plans, sharing stories. And that's what's super important to me as a community organizer, right? I mean, I want people to have really cool RPG experiences, but in reality, in truth, you could do that by just some, an individual GM goes and runs a game, runs a campaign. We give them all the resources they need to run a campaign. They go and run it, and bada bing, bada boom. But mega games are supposed to be bigger than that. It's supposed to be about the community aspect. You could go off onto a rant about like the way MMOs used to be versus like modern MMOs and all this other stuff. But TLDR, it's about that community component, and I think that's what's really, really important. So, yes, Cal, when I talked about implementation issues, one of them is I liked my town mechanics too, but I agree, tracking, automation was a pain in the ass and needed to be improved, significantly. Yes, one-shots are easier. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people treat OSR games as like, into the wood chipper, funnels, and maybe it's, I mean, again, I like to play my characters like I stole it, but when you steal a car, that doesn't mean you immediately crash it into a brick wall. And so I think some people take that idea and they just take it too far, and they go, oh, this is a one-shot. Cool, like, my character is gonna, I don't know, jump off a cliff. I just think it leads to a style of play that isn't particularly satisfying. At least it isn't to me. So, right, it's not about, I don't got friends, I got family. Uh-oh. All right, well, you gotta... hopefully you're getting up here quick. You gotta go talk. You gotta go talk to the people. You gotta go talk to all the. Look at that! Look at that! We got Evan and JP coming down. That's fantastic. You guys should definitely hook up. Again, I'll be here. I'll be running. I'll be at the Roll for Combat booth 577. You guys can stop by. So that's Wilderfield. And then there's the fourth idea, which has evolved long ago. There was a discussion made about how do we make mega games more popular, and one of them was, well, what if the mega game was the same game that the Knights of Last Call were playing on their channel? And when Daggerheart came out and we were going to run our Daggerheart actual play, a lot of people were like, oh, Daggerheart mega game when Dagger reaches. And they're like, oh, it'd be so cool if, the world that you guys are playing in is also the world that the mega game is in. And that's a cool idea, but there are some certain implementational problems. However, I am, if anything, very open to experimentation. So, what I want to do is... this is something I've actually been thinking about for a while, and I just want to try it and see how it works. I am going to be running, this was already set, I am going to be running a Moria solo game here on the channel. I am going to be using the Moria solo play rules written by Sean Tompkin of Ironsworn that are located in the back of the Moria supplement for The One Ring. And the idea of this is that you are a dwarf, part of Balin's expedition to conquer and retake the ancient dwarven kingdom of Khazad-dûm. Now, of course, in the novels, in the movie, we know that this expedition was ultimately ill-fated and Balin failed. However, it's an RPG. You can do whatever the fuck you want. So maybe your history is different. But we know that things can go south as they did in real life. So that's cool. I'm really excited about that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And again, a lot of people do solo plays, but I'm going to be doing my solo play live. And rather than relying on Oracle tables and stuff, I'm going to be using things like polls and stuff with the chat. So the chat will be able to guide and direct. So it's essentially chat will be my GM. Okay, communally, chat will be my GM. And yes, not because I'm a shill, but because I do have bills that need to be paid. There will be some options for tipping and super chatting that might give you a little bit more narrative control or spend a fear point, type of stuff. However, there was a conversation we had on a live stream about a side-along campaign for the One Ring for my solo game. And I thought about it, and I thought the two. Okay, this is like the thought process here. Number one, most people, I would say, 80% or more of the time that they spend engaged in a mega game is spent not playing the game. It's spent on Discord, in chats, in role playing, in character, out of character, planning games, making ideas, talking about managing clocks or managing threats, or just shooting the shit about the general status of the game. And that's great. I love that, community building. Anyone who's ever played an MMO and has been part of a raiding guild or whatever, even just any sort of guild, knows that you probably spend 80-90% of your time just it was basically like IRC, right? It was just like a chat channel, not actually going and raiding. At least most of it. Maybe not like the hardcore ones, but most of it. So already, most of the experience that people have as a community is spent outside of the game. But then what are my two biggest problems that I have when I run a mega game? Number one, not enough GMs. Now, we have a lot of GMs, but there's never enough GMs. And it's really tied into problem number two, which is scheduling. We have folks that are overseas. We have folks that maybe work weird hours, second shift, third shift. And even if you do have a bunch of GMs, maybe they're just not running games at the time that works for you. So, my idea is I want to create a mega solo game where I will be playing solo live with chat, but patrons can join the campaign and it will be a mega game, but you will be playing with the solo rules. Now, there will still be communal actions. You will still be part of a mega game. It's just the actual sessions themselves will be solo driven. There will be some sort of limitations, certain elements to prevent people from playing 17 times in 1 week and maybe having influence. Yeah, yes, there. I don't know. There might be. We're not going to be draconian about it, but I want to experiment with this idea of and that doesn't rule out that there couldn't be a group. If a GM wants to run a game for a group of players, I'm not going to say no. But the default model will be that you are a solo adventurer, and you would go, and we would have some rules. And one of the things that will be really important will be the existence of bots or website or something that uses this idea of dynamic Oracle tables, which are updated and fed results from what other people and other clocks are doing. And so that will automatically affect everyone else's game because everyone else will be using those same Oracle tables. So as an example, let's say there is a bunch of Oracle tables that involve maybe you getting attacked by orcs, or the orcs have seized another location of another dwarven stronghold. Well, maybe the community as a whole drives back the orcs or kills the orc chieftain. Then those oracle tables will, kind of like dynamic random encounter tables, will sort of update to reflect the fact that the orcs are falling back, or the orcs are on a rear, on a rear foot. So I still want it to be a very engaged and communal experience. I just want it to have the primary way that you engage with it mechanically be with a solo procession. And, in our normal RPG, normal mega games, we have these things called raids, right? Where normally a GM runs a session, they set it up, 3, 4, 5 PCs show up. You play a fairly normal game of Pathfinder 2 or whatever. And occasionally, people will run raids, right? These big encounters with these really complex monsters, or really complex encounters with 12 or 15 player characters. It's a big event. So I kind of view, in my mind, the role of a GM ran game with 3, 4, 5 actual PCs as being a bit more like the raid equivalent of this game. Maybe not as rare as a raid, but like you shouldn't expect that every week you would be going on anything. So going on a normal adventure, you would be going on your solo adventure. So the players would be part of Balin's expedition to the conquest of Moria, right? To go back to the ancient dwarven kingdom of Khazad-dûm, lost at the beginning of the Third Age, when the dwarves were driven out from their ancestral home by what is only known as Durin's Bane. Because remember, in the game world, the dwarves don't know what Durin's Bane is. Like, nobody knows what a Balrog is. They only know that there's some lingering darkness in the depths, right? That something that was responsible for killing their king and killing so many dwarves that they were forced to literally abandon their ancestral home, where they had lived since the first age of Middle Earth. Shadow and flame. Exactly. So, in fact, in the Moria book, there's like a half a page maybe of a sidebar where it talks about maybe, assuming you're a normal GM, changing up what the Balrog is, just so that your players aren't, or what Durin's Bane, I should say, is, just so that your players get that, oh shit, I didn't know it was this, right, to make it different. And because they might be like, oh, it's a Balrog, I know it's a Balrog. Now, why do I want to do this? Well, because I think it'll be fun, and I like building community, and I like the people in my community, and I want to encourage people who are members of my community to play and engage with me and other members of their community. And so that's why if it seems like I talk about mega games a lot, it's because I like gaming and I like community. So builds together. Tasty Trekkie wants to know, what do you call the bubbly carbonated drinks full of sugar chat? I grew up in Northeast Ohio calling it pop, but I now call it soda. I started calling it soda in college, and I basically never stopped. But I grew up calling it, my family calls it pop, my mom calls it pop, what do they call it? Food. In New Orleans, we call them cold drinks. Can I get a soft drink? So, that is kind of what I hope to work on, for the next couple of months. I still am very passionate about my community. I'm very proud of this community. I am honored at everybody who joins us. I think it's the greatest community in gaming. I'm maybe a little biased, but I don't know. We get a lot of people who join and they go, I kind of thought Derek might have been talking shit, but it turns out it was really, really good. And so it's really exciting. And then being here at GAMA, I think, I'm kind of exaggerating, But like half of the seminars today, which I didn't go to, were like how to build community and like building up a RPG community, and you know what I mean? Like all of these, like what we have, you know, is what everybody else is trying to get. There, you know, there was literally. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. There's a seminar tomorrow. Okay, there's a seminar tomorrow. It's called, ready? Creating Order Through Discord. How to build and grow your community using Discord servers. That's a seminar tomorrow. Like people are coming here and buying badges so that they can go and learn how a Discord server can help you connect, engage, and grow your audience much more effectively than newsletters or social media. Learn how to set up a Discord, build a vibe, use bots and events, and use our free server template to kickstart your own community space. Like, you know, I mean, like, you know, sometimes I forget how lucky we are, you know, that I mean, it doesn't feel like anything I did, but we just managed to build a great community. And obviously, if you're a part of that community, it is in no small part due to you. So thank you. So it's, again, so just so much of what the seminars here were about was just, you know, hey, how do you build a community, and how do you reach people, and how do you know, develop this stuff? And then there's like some more gaming and design factory stuff, and I'm like, what is this? A random Tuesday in OpenRPG or in the Dumpster Fire channel? There's a seminar tomorrow called The Aesthetics of Chance. Now, if that's not the name of some bullshit niche Knights of Last Call live stream, and, you know, it starts off with, you know, the other day, I was on the Discord channel, I was talking with the patrons, and we were talking about not just, you know, randomness, but like the feel of randomness, you know, the aesthetics of chance. Yeah, Zipperfist says that's a Vin threat, and you're 100% right. So, yeah, you're right, John. Are you crane or crab? L5R in game theory. That could 100% be a seminar here. So, yes, I'm learning stuff. Yes, I'm paying attention. Yes, I'm in here with open eyes and open heart and open mind. But also, I'm kind of like seeing like, guys, we kind of already do this. You know, we do talk about this stuff. We have built a community, and so that's very endearing to me. It's very heartwarming to me. So, can we get an aesthetics of chance live? Wait, you want me to live stream the seminar, or you want me to do my own version of that seminar? Well, you know, the thing about seminars at NightCon Jackal is everybody's going to be too busy playing games, which, to be honest, I am 100% okay with. Right? Yes, imposter syndrome falling apart. Right, exactly. Well, no. Okay, here's the difference. Okay, I'm going to get real with you. Can I get real with you? I'm going to get real with you. Here's the difference. I don't mean to sound... Look, we all know the world that we live in. The Aesthetics of Chance seminar and the Building Order out of Discord, how to use a Discord to build a community, all of these seminars have an unspoken, you know, subtitle, right? Creating Order out of Discord, how to build a community through using Discord, ... so you can make more money. The Aesthetics of Chance, learning how to use randomness in your games, ... to make more money. So that is the element that is, you know, where I struggle, right? Because I'm not necessarily. And there's nothing wrong with that. These are people running businesses. I get it, you know. Again, everyone I've met here is super passionate about games, gaming, their game. But at the end of the day, it is a business, and they're here for money. So, my focus has been on, step 1, collect underpants. Step 2, question mark. Step 3, profit. I've just not done step 3. Step 2, question mark, is build mega games. That's build a community, create mega games, and that's it. There is no step 3. Yes, step 3, break even. Yes, exactly, John. John, that's 100% right. Break even after 5 years and $100,000 invested. That's my model. I mean, there was a joke. There was a seminar today, and obviously it was a cautionary tale. It wasn't they weren't encouraging it. There was a seminar today called. Now this is my schedule. I'll go to the show schedule. There was a seminar today called. Here it is. The seminar was called $1 Million. How to lose money on $1 million crowdfunding campaign. And I was like, are they? Obviously, they're being tongue in cheek. They're saying, how not to do it. They're saying, if you do these things, you'll definitely lose money on your $100,000 or your $1 million crowdfunding campaign. Well, that's me. But in any case, has there been anything particularly useful? I don't know. I mean, I'll say I went to a game development workshop and sat down with some nice folks, and I immediately recognized the game that they gave us as like a prototype was actually Cartographers, which is a game I've played. But they were giving us these development goals, and it was interesting to see how other people approached development goals. Like, I immediately, broke it down and was like, this is a problem, I would fix this, I would change this, I would do this. But other people had some interesting points, so it was kind of interesting to see how other people worked and how other people thought and approached the game differently. I thought that was really cool, for sure. But again, it's still early. Today was the first day. It was, more. Yeah, Cartographers it is a good game. I really like that. What is it called? Forage. Forage was the game I played today. Little roll and write, and I would encourage picking it up when it kickstarts later this year because it was really fun. And it's like $20, $25, it's pretty cheap. Small little game, for sure. So, that is going to do it for me for day 1. Tomorrow, I don't know what's going on tomorrow, but Wednesday, I'll stream. But Wednesday night, I'm going to the Stonemeyer Leader Games Darrington Press Party, which is pretty cool. I don't really play, Wingspan, but I love Root and Oath, and I obviously love Daggerfall. So it'd be pretty cool to go to that. So I'll probably live stream. Maybe I'll live stream from the Darrington Press Party. Maybe we can finally get Spencer Stark. He'll definitely be there. And maybe I can just be like, "Yo, Spencer, here." So that would be pretty cool. That's true. Wednesday, that's true. Evan and JP will be here too. So I definitely have to find them. Who knows? Maybe we'll have to do 2 streams. I also brought. So I got a whole package of stuff here. I also brought. my H1, my audio recorder, in case I wanted to do like a podcast or kind of a podcast style or interview style with people. So maybe if I can get some time, maybe we could, if we don't have time for a live stream or something, maybe I could at least do a sit down with some audio in a quieter location, and we can get people. And these are just my little portable, cheap. I don't want to say cheap, but they're my cheaper lav units. But I've got my good lav units here, and we can try them like that. So. Anyways, have I played Viticulture? Have I played Vantage? No. Have I played Viticulture? I have played Viticulture. Yeah, I mean, Stonemeyer makes other thing. It's just that's the only game I really know them for at that point. Steve Driven. I spent an hour and a half today talking to the Archon studio guys. Talking about StarCraft miniature game. I spent an hour and a half talking to them. Their booth is like 2 booths away from our booth. Well, they didn't have it set up yet. They were just there, like getting like the basic stuff. They didn't have the miniatures or the table set up. So tomorrow they are going to have the full. They're going to be running full demos. I 100% intend to play. I saw some of the miniatures. Oh my fucking god! It looks so good. I've watched a couple YouTube stuff. I've watched a playthrough on TTS. The game rules look amazing. It's been a long time since I've really gotten excited about miniature games. So yeah, it's gonna be sweet. So I'm gonna go over there tomorrow for sure, and I'm gonna squeeze a demo in. I mean, Glicker might be like, "You gotta work the booth," and I'll be like, I know, but I'm gonna go play StarCraft." The game just looks amazing, and I'm really excited for it. So yes, I'm going to check that out. The other thing is, I don't have time. Like, if I get into StarCraft, that it literally can be the only miniature for me. But I will say that, Privateer Press sold War Machine to a new company. I've always loved War Machine. And so they're here, this new company. I saw them last year at Gen Con. But I'm interested in what they're doing with the rule set. And I think that's always really exciting. Right across from us is One Page Rules, and they've got some of their new starter sets out, including like these Space Lizardmen guys. We were talking to him today while we were setting up. I was looking at the sculpts. They look good. I know Bob loves One Page Rules. One Page Rules is trying to be like the D&D 5e compatible of miniatures, where they're going to try to go to everybody else and be like, hey, you make miniatures and you can use our rules to try to be like a generic rule set. So I'll probably check them out tomorrow. I've never actually played a one-page rules game. I've only heard Bob talk about it, and he really likes it. So yeah, so miniature games, very cool. And we'll find out. We'll see more tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, like I said, I'm planning on going to... there's also Trench Crusade is there. I know a lot of people have been talking about Trench Crusade. I haven't checked that one out either. But tomorrow, my schedule seems to be, I'm going to go to The Future of Daggerheart with game designer Spencer Stark. So that's at 10. And then I'm going to go to this Aesthetics of Chance event, seminar at 11. And then at noon, I have to stop going to... Now, luckily, GAMA's cool. They stop running the seminars because the exhibitor hall is, it's not like a normal convention where everybody's just selling stuff. They're mostly just previewing and promoting items to retailers and distributors, and then they're placing orders for later in the year of dozens and dozens of units, So somebody will come up to us at Roll for Combat and say, I want to carry your books. Let me get, 7 Battles of Bestiaries. Let me get 8 Dragon Ancestries or whatever. And then we'll, ship them out. We don't even have books to sell people. So it's a little bit different, but the exhibitor hall, if you want to call it that, is only open in the afternoon. So I'm going to go to seminars in the morning. Then I'm going to be in the main hall with Steven, work in the booth. Hopefully get a chance to run over to Archon and play some StarCraft and demo some other stuff. And then in the afternoon, I don't know what else I don't know what time they close, but then we're going to eventually make our way over to do something. And I'll stream. I don't know, Derek. I don't know if they have announcements at GAMA. So, but it's probably retailer stuff. Yeah, Derek, it's probably boring retailer stuff, I would imagine. But, I will say this. This is the last thing I'll say. Earlier today, I ran into Nicola de Gobis, who is the president of Need Games, right? The people who produce Fabula Ultimate. And, I've met him before, and his team and stuff. He was so excited because he came in yesterday, Sunday, and he was here all day Sunday and today. He was like, this is the best con I've ever been to. He's like, this is so helpful. He's like, everybody's talking about the kind of problems I'm having, the shipping problems, the licensing problems, the tariff problems, the import problems. So it really is a business-centric convention. So, if that's something that you're interested in, I think it is a really cool convention. So it'll be interesting to compare and contrast, because I'm going to come home from this convention, and then a week later, I'm going to be at GaryCon. So it'll be to go from business.rpg to old school Lake Geneva grognard madness. So it'll be a lot of fun. All right, everybody. I don't know if I missed anything today. Nope, just looks like Edward. So thank you, Edward, for the tip. Appreciate you. That is well appreciated. Again, I'm going to stream as much as I can this month because this is how I kind of make my money, and I can't take a month off. So I hope you guys apologize if the audio quality is a little bit rough and some of our usual stuff isn't there. But I am going to try to do some regular streams even from the road as well. Again, our audio quality might be not as good. The video quality might be a little bit wonkier, but it's all part of the fun experience, right? Like streaming from the middle of the ocean, as we are known to do from time to time. So I will be back tomorrow. If you're a member of the Patreon, stay frosty, because there's going to be a lot of announcements coming up about playtesting. Derek and Smith, Shadow Dark Pirates, hopefully Wilderfeast, maybe the One Ring solo game, all that stuff, especially when I get back from all my travels here in March. So, hey, thank you, FL4G. Appreciate you so much. I will. I am having fun. And again, I love, as fun as this con is, and as awesome I think as GaryCon is going to be, and as awe-inspiring as Gen Con is, the convention I, of course, am most looking forward to is Origins 2026, where we are going to do NightCon Session 0. We're going to have 20, 30, 40 patrons who are going to be coming in, all so that we can play games. We've got our own room. I talked to the GAMA people. GAMA people, by the way, GAMA runs Origins. So I got to meet face-to-face with the woman, the events coordinator for Origins that I've been working with to try to get this room squared away. So it was just really nice to get to meet her and ask her some questions, get some more information, just face-to-face instead of, trading emails. And it's just got me, just even more hype, right, for NightCon Session 0 coming this June. But thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you again to Edward and FL4G. Appreciate you all, and I will see you tomorrow, next time, on Nights of Last Call. Peace out, everybody.